Hello, it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. I'm here today with another channeled message. This is a specific message, so please only take this if it's resonating with your specific situation and you find it helpful. So let's go ahead and get into this. This is a very interesting message because I feel like Spirit has been observing you and been watching you and noticing that you've been doing a lot of really good work in terms of processing a certain situation that you're trying to kind of get to the bottom of. You're trying to understand this. And it does feel like it's centered around a particular kind of relationship, and Spirit is wanting to encourage you in doing this. So I feel like this message is less about kind of, you know, maybe spoon feeding you facts or specific variables about the situation or focusing on certain outcomes, but instead enhancing this very good work that you're already doing around processing this. So Spirit wants to give you this new lens so that you can kind of go further faster, if that makes sense, in terms of your understanding and detangling everything that's kind of gone on here. And in doing that, Spirit is zooming in on a man here in this situation. Now, I think for most of you, this is going to be a man that you're somehow in relationship with. You know, you're trying to basically understand him. I think he's baffled you or he's confused you in a certain way, but some of you might be a man and you could be the man that I'm zeroing in on here. So again, take this however it's resonating for your particular situation. But I do feel like there's some confusion, whether you're confused with him, it might be both, or he's like confused with himself about like why his actions did not align with his feelings, did not align with his words, did not align, you know, why this man is not cohesive. He's not integrated. It's not, everything is not going in one like solid kind of direction, right? And you're probably, so again, if you're in a relationship with this man, you're probably wondering, why did I feel like he actually cared about me? And then why did he treat me like this? And then why did, you don't understand, you don't understand who he is to you or who he's supposed to be to you. You don't understand him, not even a little bit. I think he doesn't understand himself in this way either. Now, Spirit wants to help you understand this more because through encouraging you to look at this man and his actions and whatever else here through the lens of the good old Madonna Schmore complex. Okay, and I can't say the word here on YouTube, but I think you know what it is that I'm talking about because it is actually very present here in this man, and I feel like this would be a hard conversation to have. He really can only come to this realization here himself because I think we've got to use certain words here that are the right words to use. They have specific definitions, but I think he would, because of the nature of these words, he doesn't associate himself. This is a man who views himself one way, and I think it has to do with his personality and I don't know, the way that he kind of comes across, but he is actually indoctrinated into like this kind of other way of being. But I feel the way in which this man has been indoctrinated into this kind of Madonna Schmore complex is kind of through a sneaky avenue. Like it's an underbelly to something else he was indoctrinated into, if that makes sense, right? So it's going to be culture, it's going to be tradition, it's going to be religion, something here like that. And I do, again, this is one of the words that I feel like if I was speaking to him, it's going to shut off his brain. It's going to shut off his processing because it's such a big word and he thinks he knows what it means and it comes with a whole lot of baggage. And so he's just going to stop processing. But I do feel like it's somehow tied with some kind of patriarchal view of where a man's perspective and a man's goals, his outlook is centered, and therefore a woman's outlook is kind of funneled into these lesser, like the edge. It's kind of pushed out to a periphery, but it's not done so as like nobody's saying like be a misogynist, because he would never agree to that. You know what I'm saying? But it was somehow kind of hot dog pilled in to another. So it's almost a side effect of him fully buying into something else and not really questioning it. And you would probably know what that is, okay? So I feel like you would never get past that hurdle here with this man. This isn't something you're gonna be able to talk out with him, but that kind of gets to what Spirit's trying to say. I actually think unpacking this, something here to do with women is at the heart and soul of this man's karma in this life, kind of breaking through this thing to do with women, okay? Because he doesn't understand women. He has this very two-dimensional viewpoint of women, but he thinks he has a strong understanding of women, and he thinks he does good with women, and he thinks that he understands women. He even thinks that he likes women. But here's where we got to pull this apart like a little bit. And I'm not saying that he's a total monster and he is totally like the opposite of these things, but we do have to kind of unpack what he means by those things, because I'm always big on, we all use words all the time, but a lot of times we don't realize that you know, when we're saying a word, we mean one thing, and somebody else could be using the same exact word and they have like, they mean something else. I like to use the word marriage, you know, about that. Everybody has such different ideas about what marriage means to them. So when you're talking about marriage with a person, well, what exactly does that mean to you? You know, some people are just looking for some kind of like a social contract, or, you know, it's some people view it as a spiritual path. Like, you know, what do you mean when you're using these words? So when this man thinks that he likes women and that he's accepting of women, that he's good with women, what he actually means, and again, you'd get a lot of pushback if you tried to use these words, he's good at exploiting women. He's good at getting what he wants from women. And that's a very different thing. You don't actually have to have a depth of understanding in order to be able to exploit something. And I'm picturing that scene in Tarzan, the kids movie, where like Tarzan, of course, like lives in, I think it's like the African jungle, right? And he's a part of it. And he has that genuine, like he's a part of that dance. Whereas then you have those, the colonizers that come and they're just like chopping down the trees. And there's a scene in that where this like jerk of a man is like, I love Africa, or like, I love the jungle, or like whatever. No, he doesn't. He's just like cutting it all down. He likes what he can get out of it. He likes being on the hunt, like whatever. Those are two very, very different things. And actually, when you really look at it, you do not need a depth of understanding, a nuanced understanding of something in order just to be able to exploit it well. And I do think this man is kind of good at that. And when I'm saying like he's good at getting what he wants from women, I don't necessarily just mean schmegs, okay? I mean, he's good at getting the reactions he wants out of women. He's good at getting women to laugh when he wants them to laugh, see them in the light that he wants them to see them in. He's good at that, okay? But that's a very different thing than having a genuine depth of understanding. He still has a very two-dimensional understanding of women. And that links over into this like urge to categorize women. And I don't want to blame him too much for this, okay? Because human brains work this way. We've talked about this a lot. Your brain is the most calorically intensive part of your entire body. It takes a lot of calories, a lot of food stuffs to run that brain. And, you know, we're comfortable now, a lot of us, like in modern society, it's not always been that way, honey, not even a little bit. So our brains have learned how to like kind of go on energy saver mode. And one of the ways our brains do that is we have these kind of, we cluster. And a lot of things in life do cluster. Personality traits, they tend to cluster, right? Psychology, you have cluster A, cluster B, right? Like there's just clusters of things, right? So we notice these kind of patterns, and our brain likes to funnel people, places, and things into those categories. And then when we think about those people, places, and things, we actually relate to the category and not to the thing or the person or the place itself. And that saves us energy, right? So really, that's a shame when it comes to people, because every person is a universe unto themselves. Every person is unique and different in 1,000 different ways. And that difference and that uniqueness really means something, you know, which is why we can have intimate relationships and our lives are enriched by that, but truly we can only have truly intimate relationships with a few people, right? That's because you just don't have the endless supplies of energy to just always be completely open to every stranger you meet, right? So he's very much been encouraged to kind of do this when it comes to women, and this goes hand in hand with his very adept exploitation of women, getting whatever he desires from a woman like at that time, even if it's just to get her to see him in a certain light or not see this certain thing. Or what's the word that I'm looking for? Frame. Like to frame his behavior or his something like in the light that he wants it to be seen as, not necessarily in the full nuanced truth of everything, right? So there's a categorization thing that's kind of like going on here. And that categorization function with women a lot of times is very much that Madonna schmore complex, right? Now, I can see this all like playing out here I feel like there was something else that I was going to say about like, okay, well, the liking of a woman, because we talked about that, like the exploitation. There's also a difference. I'm not going to harp too much on this. There's a difference between liking what you get from something and genuinely liking that itself, right? And I think this man might like what he gets from women, whether that is schmegs, whether that is just making them laugh or giggle, or like, you know, he likes those things, but does he actually like women? Maybe, I don't know. But those are two different things. He's got to kind of really be pulling all of this apart. I feel like this is supposed to be inviting this man on a journey of self-discovery and really actually thinking about what does he mean when he says these things, right? So, I do think this is a big karmic lesson in this man's life. I do think that he's got a lot of women in his life, or he will meet a lot of women who in one way or another defy categorization. And I think this includes mom. It includes, you know, like grandma, friends, coworkers, bosses, people here where he's going to notice that he needs to really be getting things right about women. Okay, like, oh, okay, like I viewed you one way, but obviously you got where you're at because you're this other way, right? And I do think there's some karmic lessons here. I don't know if you ever played that game like Minefield or whatever, where you click on the little dots and some of them like explode and like some of them don't. Like, I do think there's some karmic lessons here that can be pretty stringent of like really not seeing a woman clearly, whether that's in the workplace, whether that's, whatever. And I'm talking about secondary characters in this man's life, tertiary characters, but let's talk about the two titans, I think, here in this man's life, okay? And this has to do with this karmic lesson here as well. One of them's Queen Bee, is kind of the way it's coming through my mind. There's a woman here who kind of like reigns supreme in this man's life. Like, she's everything for him. She's, soulmate, twin flame. And this is, genuinely. There's genuine love between them. There's genuine chemistry. Her heart is actually involved with this man. But there's another rival here. And I don't know how this is all going to shape out, but we've seen this kind of play out here on the channel. But there's another rival here who comes across very similar. This is very much the Little Mermaid and Ursula, the sea witch, trying to don on the mask of that, right? So they come across maybe very similarly here, but the false twin or the false soulmate, and I am hearing the word dark empath here, doesn't care about this man at all, right? There's no emotions in it, but maybe comes across very similarly. Now, to understand this, because I think maybe this is the person that he's going to be with. So this person's not playing a secondary role. They're not playing a tertiary or tertiary role. This is like kind of somebody who's going to be main. And I think I'm talking about a romantic relationship, but this could also be any other Libran kind of like female. This could be a business partner, right? Take this how it resonates, but I definitely think it's going to come across here in love. So let's talk here about Queenie Bee, because this soulmate energy, my dear baby Jesus, is this woman going to defy categorization by this man? But it's probably going to be very hard for him to relate to her in that way. It's going to expose the fact that this is going on for him and that he really only sees women in this two-dimensional category, right? So I don't know which side, Madonna or the Schmore, like side of things she's going to come in on, because it could be either, right? So if she comes in on the Madonna side, maybe they do share religion in common or certain values, and this is genuine. They genuinely have like similar values and like whatever. That he readily sees and connects with in her. But I think he doesn't maybe take into account maybe her schmegsual needs, or like the fact that I think this woman's probably going to get down. You know what I'm saying? She's going to like D. She's going to like it, and it might throw this man for a loop. Like, okay, so like you're this perfect like little person, but why do you SD the way you do? You know what I'm saying? Or something like, you must belong in the other category. And he's going to freak out and he's going to want to rip her from one category and put her into another category, because he cannot look at a woman in her fullness. He cannot hold a woman that defies categories, okay? Like, and specifically these two categories. There's an infinite number of categories that this, and she might have, and who knows what traits he's lumping into these, because I think that's another part of it. It's like, okay, somebody who is smart and somebody who's intelligent and somebody who's, like, right? Like, they're going to go into this one category. There's many, many other, like, potential categories and traits that he's lumping into, again, just these only two categories for like these women, right? I also think he could probably misunderstand this, his soulmate quite a bit, because her heart is in it with this man. And she's looking for a partner. She's not looking to be owned. She's not looking to be subservient. And I think there's a weird issue with this man around subservience and genuine respect, of if she respects you and the decisions and she knows you're for her and that you're not going to try to hurt her or get away with anything, but you build that up over time. If there's genuine respect here, then that's when she's okay following him when it's appropriate. But he likewise is okay letting her take the lead where she's genuinely stronger. But she's looking for a partner and she has her heart involved with this man, so she's reluctant to give it to him if he is not proving that he is capable of that task. If he doesn't understand the little delicate pile of gold that he has just been given, okay? So, and again, this whole like Madonna Schmore thing that's like playing out, he very well could have acted badly, by trying to put her in her place. And yeah, there could have been a lot of game playing going on here, or there could have been again, which category do you go in? And there's also, this is a whole worldview that's so difficult for men to unpack, right? Because I think there's also something that he associates with womanhood. Like, so he thinks all women are this way. Again, I think you'd have to be weird about how you came at it with this man if you were trying to talk to him about it head on. Because I think that whatever this indoctrination, it's like, oh, that's just this or that's just that. He's got his categories pretty like firm here. But I think that it's, you couldn't say like he thinks all women are this way or that way, because he knows that women are different. Again, he's good at exploiting women. He couldn't be good at exploiting women if he didn't know that they have different temperaments and personalities and hair colors and, things like that. He understands it to a point, but there is something he views as being fundamental to womanhood that's just not the case. And it's gonna fuck him. Like, I think it really is like major karmic consequences here, like where there's gonna be a woman at work who just easily overtakes him because plays him like a fiddle, and he thought she was one way and she let him think that because she knows that this man and men in general maybe can't process a woman being multifaceted or coming up from behind, right? He's gonna have to learn a lot of things the hard way, I think, here. But there's something here going on with this partner where she's just going to defy categorization. She may have traits that he feels should go in one category or another. Now, let's talk about if this soulmate comes up through the schmegdual category, right? So then maybe you're hooking up with this person, but then he likes you. Like, he actually likes you and realizes that you do have a lot of similar values or something like that, right? That's gonna be another thing here too. So she could come up on either side, right? This soulmate here, okay? And that's a part of the karmic lesson, is to let a woman be a full person. Let her be a soul in a body first and a woman second. Every woman has a different way of expressing that femininity, that feminine nature. The same is true for men and their masculinity. And maybe this man has very narrow views of his own masculinity as well, or other men's masculinity. I don't know. Now, let's talk about this dark soulmate, this pretend, this false twin, or whatever you want to call it, okay? Now, this person is, I just heard, they beat him at the exploitation game. He has to stare in the mirror at somebody who's perhaps better or different, at least, at that exploitation game. I don't think she particularly likes men all that much. There's no feeling, there's no emotion coming from her to this masculine. Now, is she going to let him know that? No, she's going to be brilliant at making him feel that her heart is in it. And I think she gives off a similar vibe as like Queen Bee, in this sense of like defying categorization, but she is intentionally trying to manipulate this man and trying to persuade this man to go with her. So her defiance of these categories is going to be much more palpable for him, and it's going to fit in with that patriarchal ideal of but it would also line up with women's shame. Okay, so he's no friend to women, lining up with this lady over here. It lines up with shame because I'm hearing the way that Brené Brown describes a woman's shame, you have to be all things, and it's just a straitjacket, right? So it's I make the bacon and I fry it up in a pan and never let you forget you're the man, right? So she's going to do that. She's going to defy categories in a way that suits the patriarchy. Basically, is what I'm gonna say it in a way that that ever lovely jewel whose shine reflects on you. But she doesn't have a problem. She knows that that's how her bread and butter. Okay, so she's gonna likewise do that, and in a way that maybe he's like, see, this is a woman, right? But she doesn't care about him at all. Now, we've looked at this person before, this like false empath, and I'm using these words, right? Manipulation, exploitation. You're talking about dark triad traits here. So I'm not diagnosing anyone. I'm not qualified to do that. This would not be the system by which you would get a diagnosis. And of course, we're talking about a lot of people here, and we're talking about people on a spectrum. But I bet you're looking here at somebody who is on that dark triad. Like they're not nice, they're not sweet, they're not caring, not even a little bit. But they're just very, very good at mimicking. This very much reminds me kind of like of that sociopathic energy. And you can get on YouTube. There's a woman who has like a channel, and she's like a diagnosed sociopath. She's always saying, she's like, no, I have no feelings. But she's like, I'm just very good at. It's hard for people to know that these kinds of people exist. And I think it would be hard for this man, because I think this man assumes that womanhood means that you're caring. It means that you're soft. So he's never even questioned it in this person, if it's real or authentic. And I think if he does go back through, he's going to say, oh, look, it was really actually not authentic. Because I think, again, he's facing his mirror in her actions and her values. There's something about her actions that do not align with the values that she proposes in a very obvious way, maybe repeated. Her words, thoughts, actions, they were not aligning. You have to pay attention to that in a person. And you especially have to pay the attention to that in yourself. And that's what this man is trying to work out. Why didn't I why with my soulmate, why did I make the decisions I made? Maybe this is a man who's going through some kind of existential crisis. He doesn't understand why he built a life that doesn't suit him. He doesn't understand why he has values, and then you Venus, right? You make your choices that are in alignment with your values. Well, why didn't he choose a woman who was in alignment with his values? Why didn't he choose a career that was in alignment with his values? Why is he such a hypocrite? Like he's realizing he should have paid attention to this much, much sooner. If it mattered to him to unhypocrite himself, which is the fundamental of any spiritual journey. I don't care what name you give God or anything. The fundamentals of a spiritual journey is you unhypocrite yourself. You take that very seriously and you dedicate that to yourself. That is the one thing that you do not tolerate in yourself, is being a hypocrite, saying one thing and doing another. I think this man has built his entire life of saying, I'm this way and I'm that way. Why? He's good at exploitation. This is Mr. Suave. This is sweet talker. This is, I'm just so good at presenting whatever image of myself and getting away with it. Well, so is dark empath. So is fake Queenie Bee over here. And I bet you he hates her. Like he's going to, when he realizes what he's done, and if he goes down this path here, and if he's aligned himself with, and he would have to align himself with nothing that suits him. He would have to choose somebody who is the exact opposite of everything he professes. He would have to have done that himself. So he hates himself, but he's gonna again hate her, and again I can see, like, obviously this is not a nice person, and we've looked at this person before. Like I think that again you're looking at somebody dark triad for sure. Whether they have full blown like sociopathy or antisocial whatever, like whether they have that or not, this is dark triad. This is skillful manipulation. We've also seen this side of things where it doesn't, we already know that, like, whatever it is, like, she genuinely has no emotions for this man. But for some of them, they are sexually attracted to women, like fully and only women. They're not bisexual. They're attracted to women. And they might have a friends group where they all kind of hook up with each other, and maybe they exploit men like kind of together and talk about their conquests, and but they're hooking up with each other for the camaraderie and the social and the sexual schmexual things here. But they've just learned that they gain more social capital and money from pairing up with a man, and also they can have children with a man, which further assists them in their exploitation. So he's got to stare in the mirror and understand that this is what it looks like when somebody doesn't actually like you, doesn't actually care about you, but is good at manipulating you. They have that very surface level understanding of you that allows them to exploit you very proficiently. And they exploit, and I think this is what he's got to face within himself, that he's actually, he has this basic understanding, just like a hunter. Like if I'm hunting a deer, well, I need to know what deer like and where deer go. And, they like this field, like around dusk time, and they always hang out by this stream. Okay, well, this woman does this. And so did he, and so does he. That's not love. That's not the energy of love. And I'm not even talking about a romantic relationship. I'm talking about friends. I'm talking about acquaintances. This is not the energy of love. And this is the obstacle in this man's life that has been, I just heard, exploiting him. Or it's been the cause of his own downfall. It's also like a choke on, I'm just seeing like a tube that like has water going through it or something, but it's like clamped down on it. It's what's preventing this man from having healthy, fulfilling relationships, a healthy, fulfilling life, aligning with the life of his dreams, aligning with the woman of his dreams, and building genuinely intimate relationships. Like, this is also a man, again, very surface level, might equate sex with intimacy. But imagine the relationship he could have with his mom. Imagine, you know what I'm saying? But I also think mom is much different than, this is a man who understands women just to the extent as a hunter understands a deer that he is going to hunt. He doesn't fully understand them. I think this man, like, having this understanding is gonna be like, oh my gosh, my mom that I always thought was like so sweet is actually not. Like, she's actually strong in this way, this way, this way. My grandma, she was like very no nonsense, but it's actually because she was just so worn down and taken advantage of. She's actually a very sweet person. Oh my gosh, like, he's starting to realize the women in his life are nothing like the way that he thought. That they all have this like, so everybody here, it's like, is playing their role in mirroring back this man's diseased outlook. And so you can kind of see that there's these karmic lessons, and he would always gonna have to interact with women who surprise him in some way, and who defy categorization in healthy ways, in ways that surprise him in a good way, in ways that catch him off guard in a bad way, in ways that means that he doesn't get the promotion, in ways that means that he does get the promotion, you know what I'm saying? Like, that way, going on secondarily. But you see with these two titans in his life, Queenie Bee, actual soulmate, and dark soulmate, not soulmate, karmic, you see that the same lesson is on offer here, but he needs to be challenging his worldview and he needs to respect her. And I also think that this man is going to flip these two women at some point, where he's going to put this karmic that doesn't give a flying F about him up on this pedestal, and he's going to demonize this soulmate, because he's going to misunderstand where their own actions come from, because this is a man who doesn't understand his own. The soulmate here is being one way with him. She's reluctant. I think she defies categorization, because I think he can't even make her, laugh or look at him and and he can't control the way that she views him in the same way he can, like with other women. And that's why she's his soulmate, is because he's not getting away with it. He needs to change and he needs to come correct. She has her heart in the game with this man. That's what he doesn't understand. She actually loves him. She knows that he can hurt her. So if he's going to hurt her, and if he's going to show that he is not responsible with her heart, she is going to stonewall him. And he's going to think that that means she doesn't care about him. In reality, she cares very much about him, but she can't be with him because it's risking too much. So he's going to misread these cues. Whereas I think maybe he does things, and this person here is this dark soulmate. Why do I keep calling that? They're not a soulmate. Like, this man's going to think this person's a soulmate. LOL. You got to let him make his own bad choices here. Consequence. And they're going to have to teach him the hard way. This is what it looks like when you just wear your heart on your sleeve to the wrong person. I think he's going to have a lot more respect for this soulmate. She's a lot smarter than him, isn't she? A lot smarter. I think she's going to yield a lot different results in her life than he is too. I think anything she builds, she's going to keep it, because she understands something about people and about him that he didn't even understand. She saw him more fully than he even saw himself. So if he involves himself here with this dark person, he's going to learn the hard way he's going to be like, oh, wow, actually it was very sus that you let me just get away with everything. These two might even have an arrangement here where he can do whatever he wants. That's because she doesn't care about him. She doesn't care about him at all. She's not invested in him. It doesn't bother her in the slightest. Like, her heart is not in it. He's going to have to recategorize these things. He thought that it was, oh, you have just endless love for me. She maybe even has disdain for this man, or thinks that men are weak and it's, and because of that thinks that they deserve mistreatment and that they should be exploited because he's just so sad and can't control his dick, and therefore he's less than her and she's going to take all his money like if she wants to. It's a way different vibe here with these two. So it's a hard curve, but and that's what I have for you guys. I don't think I have anything. Oh, I will just say for you as well. I think you're trying to understand him because it baffles you. And I think maybe if you are this soulmate, which I think a lot of you will relate to, but also you could be any person in this man's life maybe you are a secondary character or a tertiary character. Maybe you're the mom or whatever, and you're trying to understand. You don't understand why his values and his actions, he's not coherent, and he doesn't seem to care, or he doesn't get it, or he's always like, and because this man probably comes off very smart. Well, he doesn't understand his own indoctrination because it was hot dog pilled to him. And then everything in his life goes wrong because he doesn't have the truth about life, right? The way that it functions. Well, whatever side you're on, and I think a lot of you, I'm just going to talk to you as if you're this soulmate energy. I think this is a very old spiritual connection here between the two of you. I think that there's a lot of love. I think you probably would have readily connected to that. Like you understood that. But I do think that the love that's between the two of you, it can be so much greater than it is, but it's like both of you kind of have to bust out of these like modes of being, and maybe you feel smaller around this man. Maybe you can kind of feel what he wants from you, and you can feel that he wants you to be in one category or another. And maybe you've come up through very similar indoctrination programs, but for you to be healthy and happy and to be on your highest and best path, and Spirit's saying they're no longer tolerating him being on his highest and best path with you, and you not being on your highest and best path with this man. He needs to show up. He needs to be a partner. Or you are going to learn that there are much more fulfilling things out there. And men and people who are going to treat you like you're a full person. Because I think you might feel the pressure to stuff yourself into a category. Or if you meet this man early enough, you might never question the fullness of yourself, but that you need to, it's going to be so much better. And if he can't love you for the fullness of who you are and appreciate that and respect that, then he really doesn't have a place in your life. And I think that's what you're learning. You're learning to center yourself. And I'm hearing I think that's his misunderstanding with women. He thinks that all women, regardless of if he's putting them in a Madonna category or the Schmore category, he thinks that all women define themselves or should define themselves based on a subservient role and how well they service other people and who they choose to partner with and stuff. But I'm hearing she's centered. The soulmate here is centered within herself. And that's why she's amazing and forever interesting and a genuine partner. And he's all the better for partnering with somebody like this. And he needs to understand that he doesn't want a slave. And I think if you came at him with these words, you say, well, of course I don't want a slave. But then why do your actions align with the fact that when somebody shows independence and they demand that you treat them with respect, and when you do something wrong, you take accountability? Why is that the crumbling piece that just nothing can grow beyond that point? So he's got to sort himself out. Okay, so I hope that resonates. Well, I mean, I hope it doesn't resonate because this is a doozy. But there's a lot of processing going on here. So if you are connected, if this is like a twin situation or a soulmate, however you're relating to this, if you know there's a spiritual connection here, I actually think there's a lot of processing going on here with this masculine. I actually do think he's starting to get it. Even if he went down a different path with somebody else, I think he's starting to get it. And if this man was mean to you, or if he made you feel second rate, or violently ripped you from one category and put you in another, instead of just saying, maybe I need to readjust the way that I'm viewing life. Maybe this is a woman that stands in her fullness and I like that and that's something to be encouraged. Then he's regretting doing that, and he's understanding that he wasn't seeing you clearly and this other person clearly. He's understanding. I think he's at the beginning parts of this. And it's not your, like, see, notice how in this, I'm like, and you couldn't ever come at him directly with that, and you'd have to be careful not using this word because you have to manage his emotions. Spirit doesn't want you anywhere near this because you shouldn't have to tiptoe around this man in order to get what you need. He needs to be figuring it out. He needs to become a full partner who is capable of processing for himself and who finds it worth his while to be a conscious, fully functioning person himself, right? All right, that's what I have for you guys. If that resonated, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye.